Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. Today, my guest is Kris Tynan from Christchurch. Hi, Kris.
Hello, Rich.
How are you?
Oh, very good, thank you. Yep. It's
Excellent.
coming into autumn though, isn't it? I don't know what it's like for you up there, but I've realised that going into the sea and boogie boarding now will probably need the wetsuit.
Yeah, it's
I'm getting, yeah.
starting to turn. I had a swim on Saturday, and strangely enough, the water was actually warmer than the air temperature, so it was quite nice
Yeah.
to get in. But as you say, that is definitely turning. Things are slowly shifting into autumn. But the reason for our chat, or my sort of keenness to interview you, Kris, and get you on the podcast, was to find out more, because I know some of the work that you're doing, and you've done some great presentations at conference, and sort of given people who have attended sort of a sample of some of the stuff you do. But it's quite a list, and there's a massive body of work here in terms of who you work with, and the studies that you guys have done to be able to deliver what you deliver, and the types of population that you're dealing with, which I think historically have been very underserved, and probably still are fairly underserved. I think you'd know better than me, but maybe give us a little bit of background about what is exercise as medicine in terms of day to day for you, and then I know there's obviously an education arm to your business as well, so that you can actually help upskill people like myself who haven't necessarily worked in that space.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I am obviously a little bit older than perhaps most of your listeners, in the early 60s, and there are others in our industry who are kind of my age group. And what happened back when we trained and I went to Otago and did a phys ed degree was that there was no such thing as personal training. It just didn't exist. So when you came out, you either went into teaching or you went into teaching, pretty much. I chose not to do that. So you just had to do another year at Tikol. I chose not to do that, and I went and worked in Auckland in a leisure centre, recreation centre, because I had done some holiday work with the Manukau City Council. So I went back in there and I became a recreation assistant, which meant, for those of you who don't remember or don't know what that is, you pretty much did everything. You were a jack of all trades. You refereed the basketball, you did the tumble tots program, you did a run club. I mean, you did everything. And I was there for maybe a year or two, and then I kind of went to Mount Albert City Council, which is now an Auckland City Council run facility. And the boss there was a northern man, and I can't do accents very well, but one day he called me and he said, "Kris, we need to put a gymnasium in." He said, "Gymnasium," I think it's, I can't remember where he came from. And I thought, he said, "Right, that's down to you." And, this was back in the day when gyms weren't, Les Mills was clearly a leader, and, I'd done Les Mills classes and stuff and been in their gym, but really I didn't know much about setting up a gym. But I thought, how hard can it be? And set off and did it, at a kind of fairly naive, whatever I was, 21-year-old. And that was kind of the start of it. But right from the beginning of my career, I guess, I wasn't all that interested in high performance stuff. What fascinated me as I got into it over the years was, why do some people stick with exercise and some don't? So that was the behavioural change and all that kind of thing. But also, as I got into it more and more, and bear in mind, I spent most of my career in the UK, my early career in the UK. So I was there for 17 years, in that I went on a OE and never really got back for 17 years. Well, I did, but just for holidays. So over there, it was interesting. It was there still wasn't personal training to the level that there is now, but there was a much better pathway through for all sorts of people to go to leisure centres and actually get some help in the areas they needed it. So when I came back about 20 years ago now, I said to my husband, who was interested in this as well, he'd been to Loughborough, which is a sort of UK equivalent of Otago. And I said, "Don't worry, New Zealand will have this completely sorted, because we're good at this, right? We're good at, number 8 wire. And we will have really good pathways for people with conditions, and for people for whom exercise, is difficult or, challenging, or, they don't really enjoy it. They're not good at it. community type people. Don't worry though, because New Zealand will have this sorted. And
Mm.
nothing could be further from the truth. You know, we're pretty appalling. There is no real clear pathway for people who've had cardiac events, for example, and
Yeah.
where do they go immediately? What kind of cardiac rehab is there? And then where do they go when they've gone, even if there is something? You know, the cancers, diabetes, you know, you just go through the whole list and there's nothing. So we set up a charity called Exercises Medicine on the basis that we could maybe get funding if it was a charity, or we could get some funding. And that did prove to be true, but they're very wary of giving you funding for operational costs. They're pretty good with equipment. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we have managed to get some pieces of equipment. My husband, Tim, works with neurological cases more than I do. So he does stroke and MS and Parkinson's and that sort of thing. So when we work out of a facility, which we do down in Christchurch, we work out of what was previously known as the YMCA, but now it's called the Kind Foundation. And they've got a little facility there. They've got a circuit training room, which is really, really appropriate for the people that we work with. And he's got some equipment through funding, and we put that in there because the YMCA are a charity as well, and they're kind of a bit strapped for cash. So we've got the situation, we've got lots of people in the community, and the stroke people in particular are coming out of the woodwork. And if you have a stroke, some of your listeners may, you know, have personal experience, but if you have a stroke, you are screwed, literally. You know, it's not covered by ACC. You're physically, obviously, you know, significantly affected to, you know, a larger or smaller degree. It's not just you though; it's your whole family. You lose, the ability to work. So it's a catastrophic event. It really is. And there's nowhere where they can go. And I'm not even going to say rehab, because they need to be exercising, or all of these people need to be exercising, as we all know, all the time. It's not just, well, I'll go to the physio and rehab my ankle that I've twisted, and then I'll be good to go back to my previous activities. No, these guys have got to either change their lifestyle kind of dramatically sometimes, but literally it becomes part of their everyday life. But they're a bit scared, you know. They haven't done it before. They're not confident. Will it make it worse? I do a program down here in Canterbury, which is called the MAP program, and it is actually around the country. So some of your listeners may know of it. It's funded through the DHB, and the contract is given to however much money they're given. But in our case down here, there are 4 physio practices that have the contract. Right. And I work with one of them. And the reason they brought me in, and I was I helped set it up as well, and actually look at the content and everything. It's an 8-week program. It is education as well as graded exercise for people with knee and hip osteoarthritis. Now, if you want to be considered for surgery down here in Canterbury, you have to go through this program, which is an excellent idea, because it covers all sorts of education topics like pain and pain management, medications, alternative therapies, nutrition, and some sort of holistic well-being type topics as well. And in most cases, actually, because the treatment pyramid for osteoarthritis is that everybody needs exercise and some lifestyle information. Some people will need some medication, usually some pain relief medication, and very, very few people will need surgery, frankly. But of course, that's not the way it's portrayed to the average person. They think my knee is, you know, buggered. I've got arthritis in my knee. It's affecting me. It's painful. It's sore. I can't do things. I can't, you know, get down on it, etc. I need a knee replacement. All right. That's kind of and so they go to the GP, and the GP says, you know, yes, it's osteoarthritis. I'll refer you to a surgeon. Literally, that's how it works. Oh, and by the way, I'll give you some pain relief. But that's not the answer necessarily. Only a few people need surgery at the right time, in the right place, for the right person. It is good, but generally it's exercise. It's strengthening the muscles around the knee or the hip, And for these people, though, they don't know if they're going to cause more damage by doing it. You know, pain is a warning signal, isn't it, to your body? Don't do it. So they don't do it. Well, that's the worst thing that could happen. So this education, if you like, and hand holding a little bit so that they work through tolerable discomfort as they exercise is so powerful. You know, it gives them back the control rather than I'm waiting for for the surgery. No, that's not the answer. And clearly for our health system, it's definitely not the answer because it's hugely expensive, and the results are not necessarily all they would want them to be, particularly for knees. Hips are a little bit easy, but knees are not always the desired outcome occurs. So look, that's sort of that's an example of a program that actually is working well. Well, there's a program available to people with these conditions, but there isn't anything for people with stroke or diabetes or just that sort of thing as well. Parkinson's, huge area of Parkinson's. So sorry, Rich, I've been talking non-stop there, but
no, you're good.
When we did come back, and I said, look, don't worry, we'll be, New Zealand will have this sorted. It turns out that personal training courses and other degree courses don't even scratch the surface sometimes in this area. So not understandably, your average personal trainer is not confident about how to deal with people with issues. If you've got a client who's got Parkinson's, you head off to the internet and look it all up, and which is what most of them do. So we felt that putting together some fairly simple courses online that could help upskill exercise professionals already in these areas would be quite valuable. So that's what we've done. We've got about 7 or 8 maybe. There's diabetes and obesity. There's joints and bones, which is osteoarthritis and osteoporosis. There's Parkinson's, there's stroke, respiratory, breast cancer and prostate cancer. So they're available online. They're like pretty reasonably priced, $79, and I think there's a discount for reps trainers as well. And we would absolutely love for more exercise professionals, let's call them, around the country, just to have the knowledge and the confidence to be able to take these people on, because it's we talk about making a difference in the industry, but we really make a difference with these people. Really make a difference. Yeah,
I had a scroll through your Facebook page, and I just caught a glimpse of just some of the stuff that you do and some of the work that you do and how you work with your clients, and some really great videos on there. I think that'll give people a really good idea of the kind of physical challenges that you present for people to work through in the classes, and how they move their bodies, and there's things on the vestibular system and lots of education in there as well. So it gives you a really good idea of the kinds of people that people would be working with. If people go online and do those courses, Kris, that you've set up, does that give them a specific qualification, or is it just sort of upskilling with some CPD?
Good question. It's just upskilling, basically. They do get CPDs. We've got reps CPDs allocated to them, but it's just it's very simple. I don't know if any of your listeners are involved in any of these sort of academic institutions, but you've got to jump through hoops for it to be kind of validated or recognized and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of work on a simpler system. What do you need to know? All right, you're a trainer, so you understand physiology, you understand muscles, how they work, you understand what a squat is, how to teach a squat, etc. But do you understand the implications for someone with knee arthritis, or for a Parkinson's person? What's really important for them? You don't need to be an exercise physiologist, or I say you don't need to be. It'd be great if you were, but we haven't got many of those in this country, and they are not funded in any way like they are in other countries. So actually, I spoke to someone the other day, and he said, where quite a few of them are employed by insurance companies. So they which is interesting. So we're missing that element or that level, if you like, of exercise professional in our country.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon, but as my preference, okay, so we're also the national. Well, I'm the national trainer for the classes for men with prostate cancer. It's called CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I would rather, when I'm looking for a trainer, I would rather actually hire a group instructor than a personal trainer.
Okay.
And the reason for that is a group instructor is used to, having fun with their people. They're better with groups, obviously, and a personal trainer. That's not to say a personal trainer can't do a good class, but that group instructor has got that element of entertainment and fun usually.
Yeah.
And then I can teach them. It's not difficult. What are the modalities that are important for men with prostate cancer? What's the treatment? What are the effects? What are the side effects of that? So it's not all that difficult. And the other thing I'd say is that what we try to do in all of our classes, and they are pretty much all classes, is create levels of connection and commonality and camaraderie. That's absolutely crucial. And with clearly the classes that are for specific conditions like prostate cancer and breast cancer and the Parkinson's groups, it's like a support group in its own right for these people. They just relish being with others who know, who understand exactly what sort of challenges they have and have had. So the job of an instructor, I know you said you're going to ask for your tips at the end, but I think the role of an instructor when you're doing a class like that is obviously to teach a safe and effective class and all that kind of thing, and help them have fun, but to facilitate that that feeling of connection that you want to, it's the tribe, isn't it? I mean, many, CrossFit do it well, Les Mills do it, lots of people do it well.
Yeah.
All of the good trainers that are listening to this will be doing it well with their own little group. But sometimes when you're teaching group exercise in our country to newbies, that's just not emphasized. It's all about staying in time and putting the patterns together, and all that's really important. But think about the power of feeling part of something bigger than yourself, i.e. another group, and how can you as a trainer facilitate that? And I have in the past, I wrote a book called The Interactive Instructor back when I was working in gyms all the time. Certainly all of that work came out of my UK experience over those 20 years. And I used to say, it's really important that you learn names, how to learn a name, how to remember names, all of that kind of stuff. And it is. And if as a trainer you can remember the names of everyone in your class and use them, fabulous. All right, all power to you.
Yeah.
But you know what? What's easier, actually, and just as powerful, is that you help them learn each other's names. So it's not just you saying, okay, now I'm going around the group. There's, there's Mark and Bob and da-da-da. You say, and I did it today in a Tai Chi class I did today. There were 2 or 3 new people. Well, there's one that hadn't been for a while, and there was 2 new people. So, right at the end, I said, let's just do a little name check here, and let's just see, who can remember these names. So we go around the group, around the circle. They all say their name, and I make them go around again. Now, have I learned to maybe? Yes, I have a little. But more importantly, they've learned each other's names.
Smart.
And that, it's really simple, but that creates that bond and that energy within the group. And also just saying, if you're doing peer work, for example, instead of saying, find a partner, you instruct them. And so it will be, find a partner, someone you don't know very well.
Yeah.
All right. Otherwise, they'll just turn to their buddy, turn to their friend and be together.
Yes.
And you actually want to mix them up a bit. And if you've got a new person, I'll kind of say, look, here's Rich. He's new today. Rich, this is the rule of the class. Don't show the rest of the class up. All right. Make a few mistakes. Don't, because frankly.
Love it.
And then I'll say, find someone you don't know very well. If there is peer work involved, Rich, you're going to be in, you're going to be highly sought after here because no one knows you. All right. But that's the role of the instructor, to help facilitate that. So they don't have to stand around awkwardly and think, who I'm Billy No Mates, nobody wants me sort of thing. You really instruct them. So sorry, that's probably one of my top tips as a great trainer.
I like it, Kris. There's no harm in getting those tips in early for sure. Absolutely. There's some of that stuff does come up with other people I've talked to, and that building of the tribe is such an important one because particularly in this sense, in the people that you're working with, because you want them to adhere, you want them to stay, you want them to keep getting the benefits because it's so important to their condition, or what it is they're working on, as opposed to the rest of the population who are just turning up to get fit. And that's great. But it almost seems like it's more urgent and more necessary to build that strong tribe because that quality of life and all those other elements that come into it and what you're doing to help them.
Yep.
Tell me a bit about the GP referral qualification. I see that's something you picked up in the UK, and I think it speaks for itself. But I may be jumping the gun. But is that's building a relationship with GPs?
Yeah. So the way that works in the UK is that trainers go through a 5-day course called GP referral. So they're learning a lot about those conditions. It's only 5 days, so it's clearly not at the level of a clinical exercise physiologist, but they're learning a lot. It's quite kind of clinical and academic. So although there was some practical involved at the end, and you had to demonstrate in a gym that you had a case study, etc., it wasn't as practical as we felt could be done, which is why our online courses have always got elements of exactly what can you do, what would the circuit look like, etc. And we brought the guy over, one of the tutors from the UK over, and did that course here in New Zealand. Pre-COVID. I'm thinking now, it might have been 2018 even. It was quite a long time ago. So we did that 5-day course. We did one in Auckland. We did one in Christchurch. And, it was good. But being us, we thought, we could make this a little bit more practical. It's just a little bit too clinical. But the way it works in the UK is that the facilities that have those GP referral qualified trainers, they will get referred from the doctors in the area through to that leisure centre. And there at that leisure centre, you've got a GP referral trained person.
Okay.
So they're given to that instructor or that personal trainer. That's the way it works. And that's the way it should work here. Now, we have had green prescription in New Zealand, and we still do have it in most areas right now. How long it stays, who knows? But here in Canterbury, we lost it. So with the merge of Te Whatuora, we lost the green prescription, which was managed by Sport Canterbury. And that worked in a similar way, except that there wasn't a specifically well-qualified person or recognised qualified person that they would send these people onto. The GP would send you through to Sport Canterbury, who had about 10 or 12 activity advisors who became their case managers. So they would then have a chat with them and say, our job is to help you get a little bit more active. What would you like to do? What do you like doing? Let me tell you what's available to you. Would you like a swimming pass? Do you like swimming? I'll try and get you a 3-month pass to the pools. So they were kind of case managers. They did also have classes sessions where they would go along and try out things. And then they would kind of move them on to what they knew was available in the community. So that's the way green prescription worked down here. It is a little bit different in every area, and it does still run pretty well, I think, in most other centres. But there is a risk, and the word is out. Don't think that green prescription is, guaranteed to you for the next funding for the next whatever years. They may lose it. They may lose it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, right now, if you've got someone certainly in Canterbury and they go through their GP and they've got knee and hip osteoarthritis, there's a pathway for them to come on one of these MAP programs. But anything else? No, there isn't.
Wow.
The only other thing that is excellent is the Stronger for Longer program, which, again, some of your listeners may be involved in this. So this is a funded accreditation, if you like, through ACC. And this came about because ACC quite clearly, want to reduce the risk of falls because that's incredibly expensive for them. So quite a few years ago now, maybe 8 years ago, they set this up. They pay the agencies in each area to go out and accredit classes that have got an appropriate amount of strength and balance work as being appropriate for over 65s, if you like.
Right.
But in fact, it can be a little bit younger if they need that.
Yep.
So the trainers don't get paid, but if you are an accredited Stronger for Longer class, you can say you've got to have at least 30% of your class has got to be balance. You've got to do some strength work. You've got to take a pre-screen. You've got to, you've got to be, it's all good. It's all really good stuff. And you've got to report in to your agency once a quarter of your numbers.
Right.
So ultimately, down the track, ACC are hoping that by getting more people involved in this, they'll have fewer falls and therefore less money. Now, all the classes for all those accredited classes can be found on their website, which is it might be strongerforlonger.org, something like that.
Okay.
So there is that as a referral pathway, but not so appropriate for a 42-year-old type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's older people. That's usually during the day. These classes that are accredited, and people who are working can't get to them.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's still a good set. I can see ACC are sort of heading in the right direction. Their desire is good. It's just time, I suppose, getting some groundswell.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Exercise New Zealand work pretty hard on trying to advocate for exercise for people in the community setting, for people with long-term conditions. They absolutely do that. But who knows how this government feels about it, and whether the health minister will actually kind of come to the party. We kind of think not.
Oh, really?
Well, no, I don't know for sure, but if you look at the way this government, their priorities are not necessarily those of the previous Labor government in terms of looking after people, are they? So who knows?
Yeah. We'll see. I think at the moment they're just trying to balance the books, aren't they, and get things going from an economic point of view, and they may be able to look more generously down the track. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? All right.
We'll see. The sad thing is, it's such short-termism, though, isn't it? 3 years, and you might be talking to another minister again, and so the work you've put in, or the work that Exercise New Zealand's put in as well, may feel like there's a lot of repetition, which must be frustrating.
Yeah, well, yes, that's right. But I think Richard's got his finger on the pulse in that respect. As he says, he'll talk to anyone. And that's exactly right. So we'll see.
He's definitely he's got his finger on the pulse. You're right. A couple of queries from a couple of videos I saw on your Facebook feed. So I'm curious about the parachute. You've got a parachute with tennis balls on it. Is that some of more of a fun thing, or is there some sort of science or function behind that, and why they do that?
Well, quite a lot of the things that you do with younger children are entirely appropriate for some of our people. And you don't want to sound patronizing, but with the parachute, if any of you have ever tried it, it's a hard upper body workout. You hold that thing and you get it going. It's also reaction time. So with all of these groups, mainly because they're a little bit older, but and balance is a big issue. So many will be aware that the guidelines for exercise, everyone knows this, 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity, two strength training sessions a week. But the other thing that's in there, especially for old adult, is balance work. And this is not quite the same with the parachute thing. It is a little bit of fun, I don't know if you've seen it. Is it the one that where you flip it up and you go underneath?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, you might say that's fun, and with little kids, they're learning, they're running underneath and learning to avoid people. Well, guess what? Same thing for your older adults.
Sure.
Learning that spatial awareness and how to navigate them, and change direction and have agility, etc. So what happens with older adults, particularly, and people with neurological conditions, is all of that gets more difficult. You know, that is compromise. The more you can help them practice in a kind of a safe environment and get some confidence and have a bit of fun, then the better. And that's a key part of what we try to do in all of our programming is, you know, let's put a fun element in here. Tim, my husband, he does 2 Parkinson's classes. Now, one of them is incredibly high functioning, and it's called Parkinson's High Performance.
Okay.
And if you do see a video there, you can see them working really hard. You know, they're going through ladders and over things and up and down. You know, they're working hard, just like a boot camp.
Yeah.
The other class, and they don't have quite so much fun, but the other class is more of a lower functioning group. So some of them have helpers come in with them and support people, and we have some support people with them. And that's just all about having fun with purpose. And that one's called Play with Purpose or Play for Purpose. And that is, they're doing stuff, and you could say it's play. And, you know, we talk about this a lot now in the industry, and there's lots of great quality speakers who advocate for having fun, having play, but with purpose. And they'll do things like stepping through hoops, holding onto the hoop in a circle. Each person's holding onto the side of the hoop. And then one's got to let go, and they've got to step through as if they're getting into clothing and take it up their body and off the other side. Well, you know, that's kind of what the heck. But that's functional, you know, that's for them to be able to do that, to step over things and in and out. So there's always lots of laughs, but they've done some meaningful work without it being cardio. So they don't do so much cardio there, but they'll do strength and balance for sure, and agility.
Yeah, I caught a couple of those, and I saw them doing like an assault course. You had the power bags on the floor, and they had to walk across the top of the bags so they weren't on the flat ground.
That's a high performance group. I mean, when I've had to take that class, I've been, oh my God, you know, this is hard. This is hard. They work really hard, and they support each other incredibly well as well. The problem with Parkinson's, or the situation with Parkinson's, is that there will always be there'll be deterioration. It's just at what rate. So sometimes you'll hold your Parkinson's, you know, for months and months, if not years, and then there'll be a bit of a decline and all that kind of thing. So you're never quite sure, you know, from one year to the next how you're gonna progress. But the support they get from each other is huge, and that's just going back to that, you know, create a tribe.
So important. The other one I wanted to pick your brain on was the stick swap. So everyone's holding a broom handle in a circle, and they have to shift clockwise or anti-clockwise you leave the broom handle behind, and you have to grab the next person as they leave it behind. I thought that actually looks quite tricky.
Well, it is coordination. All right, keeping your stick balanced before you move. So and also we'd be calling out, you know, left, right, left, right. So, you know, you've got to go the right way. It's fun. It's fun as well. And there's quite a lot of things we do, certainly in pairs, but also in groups, where they've got to coordinate and cooperate with each other. So and that raises the awareness. Certainly that one and others, you know, they've got to be looking out the corner of their eye to see which way they're going. And we'll do similar sorts of things with balls and bags and whatever. So it's having that that awareness to the side of you as well, and changing direction. You know, going left, going right again, going right 4 times, going left, whatever.
It looks more challenging, I think, than people will give it credit. I think some of that stuff certainly keep them on their toes. So you've given me a really good one with the build the tribe, and you know that's such an important element, isn't it, to working with groups of people. What other tips do you think? And not necessarily specific to what you guys do, but sort of could be more general that would be useful tips.
I think as a trainer, I mean, my experience is now, you know, in classes and groups. I never really got into one-on-one personal training to any great extent. I managed clubs in the UK, and you know, I was a fitness manager, and fitness director, and so I train my team. And if they were personal trainers and that's what they want to do, that was great. But I think what I'd say to them is, don't be afraid to play to your strengths, and don't worry, don't get too stressed about what you can't do. Just play to your strengths. I'm bossy and dominating, and frankly will never change. I came out my mother's womb that way, and so is she, by the way. But I'm not going to get all soft and it's hard to explain. No, not soft. That's not quite right. But I know other trainers actually are really, really empathetic and sympathetic, and lovely, kind of kind, quiet nature. Well, that's kind of not me.
Sure.
I'll be saying, Rich, what the heck do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
Whereas somebody else might say, that's great, Rich. Now that's totally fine. You just play to your strengths or to your personality. Don't be afraid to allow that to happen. By all means, get feedback from your classes, but you're never going to please everybody all the time. You're going to lose some people, and I think looking back now, quite a few years ago now, I would worry, I would stress about, okay, someone hasn't come back to class, they only came once. What did I do wrong? How could I improve it? What should I do about it? Should I call them? No. Yes, I could call them, absolutely, and that's the right thing to do. Just like, how did it go? Was it right for you? Or, what if you didn't think it was, just feedback would be great, but not trying to keep everybody all the time, because you just can't. Some people will love you, some people will not really like you, and some people will kind of feel ambivalent. And I think just having the confidence to, I'm going to say, be yourself, be genuine, and know what your strengths are, and maybe work on those and refine them if they're not quite right, but not worry about not being all things to all people, because you can't be.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like that. That's great. I'm scribbling while I talk. Any others that come to mind?
Yeah, and this is going to sound patronizing, but don't be afraid to dumb things down, especially information. Again, what I've learned over the years. I've got awful memories of me in my early days when I'd say to someone, when I was doing a fitness assessment back in the day when you did blood pressure and VO2 max, and I'm not sure if they do all of that all the time now, but I'd be kind of patronizing and say, now your blood pressure is good, that's normal. Do you understand about blood pressure? And if they did, great, but if they didn't, they'd kind of look at me. So I'd then go and explain, well, there's two readings here, the diastolic and the systolic, and this is da. And actually they didn't care. They really didn't care. It's like me asking my computer geek, can you sort out my computer? Well, explain it to me. I actually don't care. He wants to explain it to me. But I just want to trust him as they will trust you. And I think as well, particularly dealing with older adults, certainly don't be afraid to repeat things. Don't be afraid to say the same thing again. Just because you know it really well doesn't mean they will. And your job is to increase their level of knowledge about their issues or about exercise in general. And I'm still amazed. I'll still do a press with a band, for example, and say, okay, what muscles is this working, team? And they'll be going, up here, no, your chest, all right, your chest, not your shoulder. If you want your shoulders to work, you have to do that with it, right? Oh, remember? I try not to be patronizing, but I've got a good enough relationship to be able to do that. This won't apply to all age groups that you work with, that's for sure. I mean, I know that, going into a group class, let's say you're a busy kind of, worker, white collar worker, and you got out your blimmin' office or whatever, and you've gone into class. The last thing you want is for your trainer to say, or your group instructor to say, go and find someone you don't know. You go bollocks to that. I just want to tune out and do my class. So absolutely, I get that. But read the room, read your class, and if you think it's appropriate, every now and again, just throw something in. I'll also do. We do a lot of brain training, absolutely a lot of brain training, and that's hugely fun. Everyone laughs. It's it's neuroplasticity, and it actually doesn't matter what age group you're working with there. Just try and bring that sort of thing in. but you know, just allow them, give them the space to do that, but don't. And also, I'll say to them, okay, don't help your partner out. Listen, just because you think you know it, you let them do it. All right, even though it takes a little bit longer. Don't because you want to help your partner out. You idiot. Of course it's a black. I don't know, whatever it might be. But just occasionally giving them instruction on asking questions of each other. So it might be, I might say, right, find somebody you didn't know very well, usual thing. Okay, face them. I want you to march in time at the same time, or if you're capable, star jumps at the same time. Right. As you tell your partner, what's the scariest thing you've ever done? But you've got to keep the movement going at the same time. Right. So it's dual tasking cognitively, and of course, everyone's stopping. They're stopping to think. No, you've got to keep star jumping, or you've got to keep knee lifting, whatever it is. And so you learn. So again, you're creating that camaraderie. You learn something about somebody. And it's actually exercise as well. Not for long, just 20 seconds of it, and then get on with the rest of the class. So don't be afraid to chuck things like that in, and some will go well, some won't go well. Doesn't matter. Still learning.
Yeah. I like it. Those dual tasks are classics for the balance work, aren't they? I know I've been doing a bit of reading on that, and it's a key ingredient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those are great, Kris. I really appreciate your thought on those, and I've been scribbling those. I'll put those in the show notes. But for people looking to learn a little bit more and perhaps do some of those online courses, what's the best place to find those?
Yeah, there's a website, exercisesmedicineonlinetraining.com. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay, so is there a link to that? Is there a link to that from your website, or is it a separate place?
Yeah, there's not a link yet. Interesting you should say that, because they have been separate.
Yeah.
I need to get that link on there. Yeah, we're just updating our website a little bit and getting better pictures and things like that. So it's not there yet, but it will be.
No worries. I might get that link off you then, so that I can add that into the show notes for people.
Okay.
Fantastic. Good stuff. All right. Well, I will leave you to your evening. Thank you very much for your time, and really appreciate what you've shared with us today. And I think that'll be really, really valuable for a lot of people out there.
Great. No problem, Rich. You take care.
You too.
See ya.